Hey everyone, my name is Samuel and welcome to Samuel in the Studio. This is our second video and I welcome you. I hope you like it here and I hope you like, comment, subscribe. I actually noticed that in my first video I thought that I would switch on the comment section, and some people reminded me that my comments were not on or they were not able to comment. So what I'll do, I'll just make sure that when I post this video I put on the comments tab so that you are able to comment, share insights, and what I really like, I asked for some credit from my friends, and I asked them, from the first video, what would you improve? What are the things that you would like us to work on the channel? And they gave a lot of opinions and they gave a lot of constructive criticism. And I'm very much open to that. So if you have any constructive criticism and tips to share as well, as I'm very new on these YouTube streets, please do comment, and I will always look at those and consider what you are saying. And moreover, welcome. And I welcome you here. This is the second video. We are getting into this journey. Good news, we have just completed the first term of interior design studies and I am so happy. I'm happy for the journey, not for completing it, but I'm happy for the journey. I'm happy that I started, and just looking into the journey, I think it's just one of those things that, as humans, we always have a prompt to pursue something, but we don't. Not everyone does pursue what they want to pursue, and there are a lot of reasons to that. So when you're given an opportunity to actually do that and pursue it, or you actually go after something that you've always wanted to do, it's actually something great to do, and you're happy that you are pursuing it. So that's what I celebrate. And moreover, I also celebrate the beautiful term that I've had. I've had a very constructive term, meeting new people, amazing people, meeting new lecturers. I think now I really appreciate lecturers so much. Having been in that, line of work, I understand what goes into giving a class. So it's really, really special for me when I get to have a lesson prepared and I'm able to take in the information that has been prepared for me. So that is really something that I appreciate. So this week I actually have notes here. So when I look down, please don't be wondering what is I looking at. So I've got notes that I've prepared of things that I just like to talk about. I think in the last video we just briefly touched about what the purpose of the channel is and what we really wish to accomplish, but we didn't really get into the gist of how we're going to do that, and I wish to do that today, and also give a bit of feedback, and also bring you along the journey. I think you've seen on Instagram some of the shots, some of the reels to show the process of how the first term went. So yeah, I just like to paint a picture, bring you all along, and please engage, comment, tag me if you see something very similar on the social media network, on Instagram if you see something similar, a person pursue their studies in architecture, interior architecture, that you think might be very valuable. Please do tag me. I'd really like to see that, and on the actual post as well, please do comment, and on the channel, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. It's just a black button, I believe, that you just need to click on, and you'll possibly get prompts and notifications when I do upload. Let's get into the first topic of discussion, and the first thing I just wanted to talk about was the first term, and then we'll get into the project that we had for the first term and what is next. And I just want to conclude on just some nuggets that I hope we can all take and possibly learn from, and the nugget that I'll be sharing at the end of this video will be the topic of starting something new and the dynamics that are involved with starting something new. So stick around for that, and I do hope that you enjoy. So the first thing that we're going to get into is the term. The term has really been an amazing journey. It's been a very active journey that was very a lot was happening. And when you're at that part of learning and you're dealing with something, or you're coping with something, or you're handling something, then something comes. While you're working on this one, something comes. And then while you're working on this, something comes. So I think for most of us, we were just trying to find a balance and find ourselves in this new journey. And it was such an amazing experience. And I think I speak for myself when I say, within our class, we just fed off each other's energy. There's just such a beautiful energy in the classrooms. Um, just seeing other people who are driven. And social media, for me, I actually get a lot of encouragement and motivation from social media. Just seeing the type of content that's there, what people are doing around the world in architecture and interior architecture is just mind blowing. And sometimes I need to bring myself back to reality and say, okay, Sam, you might not be there yet, because sometimes, like, I'm looking at my drawing and I'm like, hey guys, like, look at what people are doing in this part of the world. And I'm like, when am I gonna get there? But trust the process, trust the process. And I think most of this term, that's what I keep saying to myself. Trust the process. If you're not able to do something, we'll talk about the task that I had. Keep on trying, keep on doing it over and over and over again. There will come a time where you're fully able to do something, and nothing is instant. Nothing is instant. We all need to do it over and over and over until we're comfortable, until we're competent at the end of the day. So yeah, that was the first term. So you know, I met an amazing bunch of people, talented individuals that, I'm really, really taken by how talented, my classmates are. We come from different walks of life. Some were in different fields before this. Some are coming straight from school, and there are those like myself who have worked and studied prior to this. But you know what? There's just something so special that just I'm not even sure how to put it into words, but each of them have something so special that they bring to the whole experience. And yeah, we've got different subjects, we've got different modules. So the modules that I have, I've got history. History explores the history of design, and it walks us through, the whole civilization. We're looking at Africa. We start with Africa, and I love, 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 love. The lecturer that we have, she's well traveled and she's worked in design and she's studied. It's such an amazing experience when your lecturer actually inspires you, and you aspire to have or share the experiences that they've had. And there are those educators that when they speak, you actually travel with them. It's like you get into the spaceship and you're able to now witness what they are talking about. You actually travel these places and spaces that they've been to, and you start visualizing everything that they speak about. And it's the exact same situation. That's how I feel when I'm in the history class. So I've got history. We've got building construction. Building construction for folks who come from the building and engineering sector. It's basically like building in first year when we have what was it? Building was in structural steel. We had structural construction. I think it was where we explored load path, connections, and the design of connections. It's very similar to that, but now we look at the more civil part of it, where we look at foundations and then we build up. We basically start from the bottom, from the foundation to the walls, to the cladding. We'll get to that, but it's very interesting because I get to go back again and learn about the different processes and stages. Because when you're working, at some point you're just you don't even focus. Like for myself, a much greater part of my career in the engineering sector was now based just on steel, whereas in the beginning I did a bit of concrete testing in the labs, but now my focus was mainly steel and steel design. So seeing and just being exposed to the more civil part, concrete reinforcement, it's things that you remember, like rebar. We learn about rebar, but now when we encounter it the second time, it's like, oh, okay, actually been there. So that's building construction. And we have, because it's the first term, we did a drawing. We basically started from scratch with drawings. We did scales, and we're basically building up from that. So an amazing experience, something that I really, really enjoyed. And the floor plans, we went into floor plans. And I don't think it was difficult. I think the challenging part was just multitasking everything. And I think that was just basically what most of us was dealing with, just multitasking, your schoolwork, changes in life. Others were coming from different provinces, different countries. So it was just, a whole experience of just adapting and adjusting to the new. So yeah, that was really amazing. And we look forward to the second term where we'll be applying ourselves surely at greater depth. And yeah, it surely is going to be an amazing experience as well. The projects. Let's speak about the project. So we had a project, and the project was an apartment. It's so inspiring, guys. Because growing up, I would like just watch Top Billing, and you just not walk, you just watch these people design their dream houses or walk you through their dream houses. The presenter would be like, today we are at so and so's place, and then they open the door, they're like, hi, welcome to my home, and then you just walk in, and then you see these big chandeliers, and then you walk into the kitchen. The kitchen has got an island, it's got marble tops. That's. So we were given this brief, and the brief, we could choose any spot along the Atlantic seaboard. So we could choose any spot along the Atlantic seaboard, and we were now asked to design this apartment, and it was 15 meters by 6 meters, if I'm not mistaken. As if any of you did that apartment with me and I've got my dimensions wrong, please just rectify me or correct me in the comment section. Yeah, it was 15 by 6, and we had to design it from scratch. Well, we were given the outline, the basic like rectangular outline, and then we had to do the furniture, the furnishings. We had to work with the spatial planning, make sure that it's actually functional, and on that as well was a learning a curve for me as well, because now I started learning about like the technical drawings are different for each function. That's something that I learned, and it was really really informative for me, because the technical drawings that I would prepare, very very technical, very technical. We just focus on the connections. We just focus on each member size, or each member itself. We need to identify. But here, the technical drawing actually serves more than one purpose. In structural, our drawing would basically be used for manufacturing, and it would also be used for erection on site. Similar here, the drawings would then be used for visualization, but it needs to be aesthetic as well, because the more aesthetic it is, the more it actually the more informative it is, because the client also is able to see the type of finish, is able to see the whole picture better if it's more aesthetically pleasing and it's more detailed. So that was the challenge for me, learning the detail. I'm creative, but learning the different techniques. So we went from learning hatching techniques, stippling. We went up to now we started rendering, and we're rendering with Copic markers. And with the Copic markers, you start learning how to do different textures like leather, textures like timber, textures like concrete, glass. Just an amazing experience. And at first for me, I was like, yo. Yeah, guys. How am I gonna show timber? How am I gonna show timber? Because timber was like difficult for me when I considered timber, because there are different shades. Like you can have like one timber slab, but there's like different shades of brown, and there's those veins that are in the natural timber. Those lines, and then that. And I was like, yo, guys, how am I going to do this? But we learned, and I think at the end we were able to do the basic, and it ended up looking amazing. Like when we did the presentations day, it was really amazing, and everyone had their work up, they were presenting, and it was really amazing. And for me, that was such an inspiring day, because it was like a full circle moment where we saw the journey from the conceptual stages, where we had 3 options. Each person would have 3 options, and you'd go for crit, and with those 3 options, you'd basically refine the option and put it on different scales, and then from that, once it's approved, basically following the design process that you would follow with your client, but in a more guided way. We get a lot of support from our lecturers. And from that point, you start building up to a point where you've got your floor plan. From the floor plan, you've got your elevations. You follow that process until you have your final product. And yeah, it was really amazing, really good. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to the second term where we're going to be getting into a bit more detail software as well. And all of us are very excited because software means that things are going to move faster. Manually drawing is very time consuming, but it requires a lot of precision. So yeah, looking forward to it. And for me personally, it was such a journey because firstly, the tables have turned around. I'm used to being in front of the classroom giving class, and lectures and lessons, and now I'm on the opposite side. And it spoke to a lot of things. It spoke to being a student again. And something that I realized with that is that in life, we're constantly going to be learning. You're never going to get to a point where you know everything. We learn until the last day that we are basically here on earth. So it's quite important that one is open to learning. And if you need to basically adjust to different situations that you're placed in. Now that I'm a student, I'm able to go back. And let me tell you, I value the stage or phase where one is a student so much because you have the ability to make mistakes and fix your mistakes, whereas when you're in the working world, things are very difficult and tough, and you're working with actual budgets and you're working with timelines, and mistakes at that level are very, very costly. Mistakes are costly at every level, but at this level, when we speak about cost, we're speaking about time, we're speaking about deadlines, sleep. That's what it is speaking about, like relationships, not being able to be with your friends and your family because you're spending a lot of time working. But when we speak about budget, that's when it becomes very, very, very difficult. So being a student, really, I've really learned to appreciate that, and I ask questions. I want to understand because the world is really not so forgiving when you make mistakes, especially as a professional or as a graduate. So I'm really grabbing this chance and doing my best to learn as much as possible. And so what is next? We are basically going to go into the second term. Going into the second term, we'll be learning more, applying more, and it's such an interesting thing is happening. So, because I've been learning about interior spaces, functional spaces, spatial planning, whenever I go out, like I recently went out, hey guys, I am looking around and I'm analyzing what is around me. I start to analyze like living spaces, places of leisure. I start to analyze and look at, oh wow, look at how this was designed. Look at how this was put together. How the colors coordinate. I haven't learned about colors and coordination, but I believe that's something that will come with time. But I start looking at the different materials, and I think one of the things that I'm really paying a lot of attention to is how functional these spaces are, these spaces that we are designing and creating. I think it was one of our lecturers who said it's not just to create a beautiful space, but the space must be, functional. People need to be able to use it. Design is also there to solve problems. So I'm looking at some of the spaces that I've been visiting, and I'm like, okay, so what problem is here? Like the recent place that I went to, I saw that a lot of people, this space, maybe they were restricted in terms of space, but everyone was like clustered and like squished. And it's a place where people want to like relax, have fun, breathe. And surely, you would want a place that's a bit more nicely spaced out. But I think that becomes a bit tricky, especially when we look at furniture. If you're restricted for space, like what type of furniture do we use? I'm still in my learning process, so I'm looking forward to learning how to play around with your space. There was some amazing projects coming from like our classmates who were able to maneuver and play with their space so much that we were like, wow, I actually didn't think that you can do so much with that type of space. And as I go out, I look at that, I look at the furniture, and some of the tables were uncomfortable. Some of the tables were so uncomfortable. The chairs, and I'm like, you know what, guys? We need to think about things like that. How comfortable these spaces are, and how how much they solve the problem that exists. I think that is quite important. But just to wrap up this video, I think the gem that I'd like to share today is starting something new. And often when we start something new, there's a lot that we end up thinking about. There are a lot of feelings. There are those feelings of discomfort. There are feelings of self-doubt. There are feelings of am I actually made up for this or cut for this? And there are a lot of feelings. But something that I'd really like to say with starting something new is that it's an ongoing process. We're constantly going to be starting something new, whether you're 50, 30, 21, 19, or 16, you're constantly going to be starting something new until your mission here on earth is fully complete. So I would say that, in starting something new, there are certain things that we should look at and maybe just grasp, so that we are a bit more comfortable with the process of starting something new. Firstly, I think, the first thing that I've become a bit more comfortable with is that in starting something new, you are going to be in a different territory, where things are not done the way that you are used to. And in that, you need to adjust to grow. And that's when growth comes, when you're put in circumstances and situations where things are done differently. And that's how you also get to learn more that, okay, there's actually more than one way of doing something. And secondly, you are going to doubt yourself. We're humans. We're constantly going to, or not constantly, but we will ask ourselves if we're actually cut to do some things. And I think a bit of that also comes from comparison, which is something that it's good to be on par with what's happening around you, but to compare yourself to the point where it is very negative toward you, that's a bit dangerous. So I am a huge believer that things happen at the right time for each and every one of us. So we should embrace the journey, embrace and trust the process as well, because that is so important in things coming alive and us following our natural journey of progression. And when it comes to being uncomfortable and asking yourself if you're cut, you're constantly going to ask yourself that, and others are also going to ask you that. But one thing that I've found to be very important is always reminding yourself about the why. The why, going back to your why is so important. If you've started something new and you're finding that it's difficult or you're struggling to adjust, regardless, it could be so many different things. It could be a new job, a new relationship, something, anything. We are constantly going to be asking ourselves a lot of questions. But if we are able to just go back and remind ourselves about the why, it's like a very grounding type of activity. You pull yourself back towards yourself again, and you're like, this is why I'm doing it, and you move forward from that. So yeah, before I make this a super long video, it's like almost 30 minutes. I'm gonna wrap it up and say, guys, I've received a lot of good feedback from the first video, from the Instagram page. When I set it up, I was like, am I really going to set it up? What are the challenges? I don't have the best camera. None of what I speak is not scripted. I just have like pointers. Like these are just the basic point of what I really want to discuss, but none of what I say is scripted. So I was like, there are going to be a lot of ums and ahs and ums, but that's fine. That is part of the process and that's part of the journey. But I'm very much open, as I said at the beginning, to your feedback. If you share your feedback on pointers of what to improve, I'd highly appreciate that, and that can also contribute to the growing of the channel. I'd really like to also add different types of content. These sit downs would really be nice if we can do a Q&A. I set up like a questions poll on Insta, and then I answer all of those questions, and vlogs as well. You follow the journey, come with me as maybe we do something, or my classmates and I do something. I'll ask them if they would be interested in doing that, get their consent, and yeah, maybe just a sit down, a chat, a mukbang, have a nice meal. Yeah, like I would really like to do different things with the channel and exciting stuff with the channel. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I highly appreciate your views. Please do not forget to comment, share, and subscribe so that the video can also reach others. Perhaps there's an important message that the next person can also get from this video, and it helps me a lot as well, because I feel like this channel is also going to hold me accountable to the journey of growth and committing to the journey of growth within this phase that I'm in. But more than that, guys, I'm really grateful for you watching. If you've stuck to this part of the video, then you are a very important person, and I really appreciate that so much. Have a lovely day, a lovely week, and looking forward to the next one.